Hello, everyone. It's me, Lawrence Prezman, the Prez, co-founder of WagerTalk Media, owner of WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and the iconic Gold Sheet. And oh my God, am I excited! Dave Williams joining us. I've got a whole intro for you, Dave. But before we get there, I just want to give you a huge hello. Thank you so much. I know how busy you are, doing pretty much nothing. So thank you for joining us, dude. Wow, man. Dave freaking Williams.
I need you to hype me up for everything I do. I like that.
Well, you know what? Next time I come down, like during the World Series or something, maybe I'll spruik in front of you as you walk in, you know. Dave Williams, everybody. Dave Williams. Hall of Fame, Magic the Gathering. Second in MasterChef.
I'm not in an official Hall of Fame Magic Gatherer in any capacity. I'm not on the level of those guys. I'm a known Magic player. I think in your eyes, Hall of Fame, but they actually have their own Hall of Fame.
No, you are in the whole. I actually have a room just dedicated to Magic the Gathering and Dave Williams only, because I know nothing about Magic the Gathering. But we are going to talk about it a little. But I mean, look at this, dude. In all seriousness, a really good Magic the Gathering player. You came second at the WSOP main event against Greg Raymer. You've had a better life than Greg Raymer since that time, so you won. You're a bracelet winner. You have like over, let's just say, a shit ton of money in live poker earnings. You came second in MasterChef. You got into... Second is... Dude... All the listeners, all we can do is watch MasterChef. You came second in that show. You're humble as shit. You're a single dad, which has to be one of the best achievements of, probably the greatest achievement of all.
In my eyes.
Yeah, very close to the achievement of being a good friend of mine. And you're an amazing friend of WagerTalks. You're a sports bettor, crypto machine, and you have maybe the best hair out of anybody that's ever been on this show. How's that for an intro? Oh, and you got accepted to an Ivy League school. You broke your mother's
all of them, actually.
Heart when you... What?
I got accepted to every Ivy League school.
He got accepted to every Ivy League school, people.
And Stanford and MIT and Caltech. I applied to, I think, 11 colleges and went 11 for 11.
Yeah,
and look what it got. And now I just gamble. I don't use any of it.
Yeah. So, with that said, have I forgot anything, dude? Are you a sports bettor? I guarantee you're awesome at backgammon.
Not awesome at it, but maybe that's part of the hustle. I do have a backgammon board like right here. Maybe we can play a little online for small stakes, me and you.
Oh, done.
Small stakes.
I mean, we might define small stakes differently, but I'll tell you what I'll play big stakes with you for. Chess.
Nope.
Please?
Can't do it.
I insist.
As long as you play the same stakes in Magic against me.
Can we go with chess first so I can build up a little bank account and then just hand it back to you? I don't have a clue how to play Magic the Gathering, and maybe that's where we'll begin, dude.
Other than the rules of chess, I don't have a clue how to play chess. You know, I know the rules, but I've never learned any strategy. It's never really interested me. I respect and appreciate those that do. I find beauty in it. I've watched games before, and I see what's going on, and it blows my mind, but I've never put the time and the effort into learning any strategy because of my personality. I'm so addictive and punish myself so much that if I did, I would absorb myself in it, and all I would do is play chess every moment, but I would actually never achieve that level that I would want to get to because there's so many years of head start on me. So I decided, it's better if I just don't even get involved. I can appreciate it, and that's it.
Dave, we got lots to talk about today. I just want to let everybody know Dave does not want to talk about poker, and it kind of sucks for Dave because I'm going to keep asking him poker questions. And we're not going to do poker the whole show, but I mean, everybody knows you as a poker player. We are going to talk
about... What I meant.
What, Dave?
What I meant was I don't mind talking about poker as a general thing, but like poker strategy, like hand examples and things like that, I kind of grew tired of that, and I feel there's so much nuance and so many variables and so many different ways people do things, and what's successful for one may not be for the other, that I find that kind of talk like, oh, I've got jacks in the cutoff, what are you doing with that kind of that bores the shit out of me.
Yeah, and not only that, Dave, it's really, really hard because people ask me all the time, what do I do, if I get kings and an ace flops, how do I,
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. How has your opponent been playing? What position are you in?
Exactly.
Like, do they raise a lot? Or what's your image? What do they think your image? There's so many variables that you can't really answer those questions. So that kind of stuff bores me. But like poker in general, yeah, I mean, I love poker. I played a poker tournament for 9 hours yesterday, So it's like, I wasn't meaning I don't want to ever mention the word poker. I was just saying I didn't want to turn this into like a tutorial kind of session because I just don't think that's very valuable.
We got a bunch of people already online talking to us. Dave, as some of these questions come up from the people watching, I'm going to ask you them. But just to let everybody know, we're going to talk poker, we're going to talk sports betting, we're going to talk cooking, we're going to talk Magic the Gathering, and we're going to talk crypto. But Dave, one of the first questions that we've got from Sean Bird is, what do you think about XRP, and will you be buying into Ripple when they go public? Are you still playing this game?
Yes and no. I've got my sort of long-term bag, which is almost 90% Bitcoin.
Yep, me too.
And I stopped with the day-to-day and following. It was causing me too much stress. And frankly, I felt like I wasn't actually as knowledgeable as I thought I was. And the money I made when things were hot in late 2017, early 2018, unless I have that off by a year, but I think that's right, was more, it's hard to be wrong. And I lost a little back. I'm still, doing well in crypto, and I'm still very long on it. But I feel that the best position for me is just take my Bitcoin, lock it up, put it on your hardware device, put it away, don't think about it. It's kind of a rainy day. Maybe if the world ends with this virus and everything collapses, who knows? Maybe that's where we go. Maybe we don't. But it's not something I like sweat every day. Like I couldn't tell you I know the range because I see it. I have, an app on my phone, but I don't study it every hour like I was. I don't look at charts anymore. I don't even look at other coins really outside of Bitcoin. I hear, chat. I'm still in a lot of the Telegram chats, and I read here every now and then when I'm bored. I see the chatter, but I feel like at the end of the day, unless I'm really prepared to, again, immerse myself in it, the best strategy, and this is what I recommended for all my friends, who are like, oh, I want to get into crypto. I'm like, look, take some money that you can set aside and pretend it's gone.
Yeah.
Invest that into Bitcoin, securely put it away, and don't think about it for a few years. I'll let you know when it's time to think about it again. And in your head, write it off as it's gone. And who knows, maybe in the future you'll have a really nice blessing. And that's kind of, I don't even think maybe, I think it's a likely possibility, but I just don't think there's a lot of value for me and for the average person to kind of day to day be in and out of different currencies here and there. Because at the end of the day, look what's still standing, and a lot of those coins, went to shit.
Yeah.
Now, Ripple, I mean, I wasn't a big Ripple fan when I was into it, but that doesn't mean I'm always right. I mean, there was a lot of money to be made in Ripple, but again, I'm not really super into the whole industry anymore. Yeah. I still think there's a lot of value in it, and I think there'll be a time to kind of jump back in, but I just feel things are very volatile right now, like more than they've ever been. There's so much uncertainty in the world.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And guys, if you're listening to Kyle, watching his comments, Kyle Anthony, our UFC expert, he's clearly bullish on Ripple. Dave, we're going to get straight into the show right after some quick business. I just want to mention, and you know Johnny Detroit really well. You play with him in a fantasy team. It's Johnny's birthday today, so I want to give a shout out to Johnny. Happy birthday, brother. I'm sure you feel the same.
Happy birthday to my favorite bald redhead.
Bald redhead. That's a little bit of...
Right? Isn't he bald? And I feel like he's a redhead if he had hair.
Yeah. What's that cartoon guy again? Who looks like Johnny? I can't. Johnny. What's the guy again? I can't even remember. I can't remember his name. But anyway, happy birthday, Johnny! And also, guys out there, if you're looking for something to read, Ralph Michaels. Johnny will put it in the chat window. Ralph Michaels has just released his college football guide. It's up at WagerTalk.com. Check it out. And yes. Caliu or Caliu. Is that the person's name? Are you watching the chat?
I just looked over and saw it. I teased him because I've always thought that if he had, I imagine him with hair as like a redhead. You know, he just feels like he's got that kind of look. Nothing wrong with that.
You know the craziest thing about Johnny? The women freaking have loved that guy since freaking school. The dude's got game.
It's clearly his personality.
That's what's so crazy. I mean, his wife is beautiful. And
he's cool. He's cool as hell. I mean, you know, I've known him for a few years. I haven't spent a lot of time with him, but the few times when you guys come to Vegas, I really enjoy him. And just in our football league, our fantasy football league, just chatting. I mean, no, he's clearly a rock star personality. Not to say he's also not a handsome gentleman. Bald is in, even though I grew my hair out. But he's a great guy. I like Johnny a lot.
Okay, so Johnny sent me 2 questions. We're going to start with them, and then we're going to get into sports betting and then poker. So question number 1. Ask Dave how he did and what went to drafting and running his team in the 5,000 Johnny Detroit League. Any different in terms of competition versus other leagues? And he does want to point out, because he wants to name drop, that your league has Scott Van Pelt, Joe Cata, Cousin Sell, Clay Travis, Todd Furman, Kelly Stewart, and of course the legend himself, you. So
it's first of all, it's the most fun I've had. I mean, I freaking love that league. And we raised the price this year, which made it a little stiffer competition. Although there's not a big difference in 5 and 3K as far as stretched out over a season, but I liked it. I was pretty bummed because fantasy football, me and Scott Van Pelt talk about this a lot, how to both of us, it's not about the money. We will have a sports bet that is way bigger.
Oh, yeah, dude.
Than a position we need in fantasy. Like if I need my quarterback to score a touchdown, but it's going to screw me on a position I have 20,000 on. Yeah, I'm happy to win the money, but I'm kind of pissed that I get screwed me in fantasy. And it's like, I want to win my fantasy matchup each week almost more than I want to have a winning football Sunday betting. It's really sick and twisted because at the end of the day, you should care more about your own bank account than fantasy. But it's like, I want to win this goddamn fantasy game. And when you have a heartbreaker loss, I mean, it crushes me. And me and SVP we text a lot about it. And this year I was really disappointed because one of the things that's super important to me is Burning Man. I love it. It's like a good disconnect.
You've sent me some outstanding pictures of Burning Man.
And this, I feel like we're all so connected digitally. I mean, look, right now we're having a meeting on a computer and I'm surrounded. I have 4 screens around me. I'm always doing stuff at my desk with a phone and an iPad. I mean, and it's fine. It's like, I'm not one of those people that says technology is evil. We're all so immersed in it that human connection, I mean, like actual human connection is sort of lost. And the ability to pay attention and the ability to listen and talk with people and really see what they're about and learn about them. Whereas Burning Man, there is none of that. There's plenty of that. There's none of the technology because your phones don't work. So what you're doing is you're spending 9 days in the desert. I'm not making this an advertisement for Burning Man. I'm talking about what I get out of it. I spend 9 days in the desert with people, strangers even. There's thousands of people, meeting people, talking to them, hearing their stories, learning about them, expressing myself, learning how to communicate, spread love, and just be a kind person. So that's really important to me. And the reason I bring that up is it occurs when we did our fantasy draft this year. And I was trying to find a way to get a signal out there so I could do the draft, in my RV in the middle of the desert, but I couldn't do it. So I had to have a friend draft my team for me. And he did a great job. Jay Farber, another World Series of Poker main event runner-up. He got second place, I think, like 7-8 years after me, maybe more. Really good friend of mine here. Probably my best friend in the city of Vegas. We talk all the time. We eat together. We're very like-minded. So I brought him on to draft my team and said, you can have half the action because I want you to give it your all. Yeah. I want you to really, and he's like, I want to get in that league. It sounds like a fun league. I know Kelly. I know who these other guys are. And I was like, yeah, he knows Joe Cata. So he drafted the team for me while I was at Burning Man. And it's kind of funny because not all I could think about, but a big thing I thought about in those 9 days out there is I wonder who my team is. I wonder who my team is. And when I first was leaving out of there and got signal, my phone came on, and 9 days worth of messages start coming through, and every app. The first thing I'm doing is, okay, look at my team. And I didn't like it at first. And I'm like, okay, I got to go look at the draft. And I'm like, I would not have taken that. And I was so like anti so many of these players. Like Aaron Jones, I was so mad we took Aaron Jones, and he ended up being one of the best running backs of the season. Yeah. So it's like, what do I know, right? Jay Farber really hit it out of the park. We made the playoffs. I believe I lost right before the money, right? Or did I make the money? I can't.
It doesn't matter, Dave. You got enough money.
I know I made the playoffs. I'm trying to think if I won the first round or not. I think I did win the first round, and then SVP lost too because he went like 11-1. He lost the first week, won the next 10, and lost to me in the last week. That's what it was.
Dave, let's get into poker. We're going to talk poker. We'll get it over and done with right off the bat. Zeke asks, is Dave playing live poker? Sorry, Dave.
Got to go back. I made a choice. If the draft overlaps Burning Man this year, I'm going to Burning Man a day late. I'm going to stay for the draft. I'm going to still have Jay as my partner, and then I'm going to leave as soon as the draft is over. Okay, let's get that out of the way. I just want to let Johnny know. I know he's watching.
Ask Jay if he wants to come on too, dude. We need some people who actually will discuss poker strategy. Okay, let's get.
Oh, he won't at all.
Let's go into poker, bro. I play a shit ton of poker. We've played together. We went out for dinner during the WSOP, one of the events. What I've noticed in the last 6 or 7 years, and we're going to keep this very high level, is I don't know, about 4 or 5 years ago, poker was a real pre-flop game. 3 bets, 4 bets, 5 bets, really just staring each other in the eye pre-flop until somebody broke. I've found that it has changed a ton over the last 2 years, and now we're playing more of a post-flop game. The bet sizes pre-flop have gone down. We're not seeing as many 3, 4, 5, 6 bets pre-flop. And we're also seeing a lot of ace-kings out of position, just smooth calling and seeing if there's a raise coming pre-flop. Speak to that, and also where do you think No Limit Holdem is going conceptually, but from a strategy perspective? What's the next big change?
I'll answer that question. I don't fucking know, man. I literally play 3 times a year, and I don't even watch it. I don't study it. I have no idea where it's going. I can tell you why I think it's sort of, in a way, becoming more of a small ball approach, which is what you described. And I think that's because the average player is getting smarter, right? In the beginning, the average player didn't really have as much skill as the professional, and the best way to mitigate that disadvantage is to apply pressure with big bets, pre-flop, all-ins. I mean, there was a book, I think it was called Kill Phil by Phil Gordon, and it was premised on Kill Phil helmets, how to beat one of the best. And one of the biggest strategies, I believe, was just to move all in a lot when you have a close decision or when you don't know what to do, because it puts the pressure on your opponent and it takes away the number of decisions you have to make later. When you're all in, you don't have to do anything else. You're already all in. But I think that was appropriate when the average player didn't really know what the hell they were doing. But I think now most people still playing poker this day and age, a lot of people aren't picking it up. They already know how to play because we've been playing as a country, as a world, for now 10, 12 years. So the average player has read some books, has watched some strategy videos, has talked to their friends who've talked to other people who are good. So now people know that the small ball approach, which is how some of the people like Daniel Negreanu and many of the other greats started, adapting way earlier. That's pretty much the safest and smartest way to play to really leverage your edge. So I think you're seeing that a lot more, and that's why the game has become more of, let's see some flops, let's play some poker, let's actually figure out what's going on here. Also, stacks are bigger, in relation to the blinds.
Great point, Dave. Yeah.
You used to start a lot of these tournaments would start you off with 20 bigs, 30 bigs, and you don't have a lot of play. But now they start you off with 400, 500. Granted, the play evens out in the end, but in the beginning, you're 500 blinds deep. You get to play some poker there.
That's such a great point, dude. The first World Series event I ever played in, it was 2-1. It was a $1,000 event. I got 2,000 in chips, Dave.
Well, how about when it was 1-1? When I was playing in 2004 and 2003, it was 1-1. You get a chip per dollar.
That's insane. I was out on my first hand, Dave. The tournament started at 12. I didn't even have enough time to fart on my chair.
Oh, I have been eliminated. So I was in a tournament when, this is 2004, there was no late reg. You had to be there at noon. They said shuffle up and deal or you were shut out. and I was eliminated before people were seated. And this was a 10K main event at like the Bicycle, and you started with a lot of chips, 10,000 I think was dollar for dollar, but the blinds were like quarter, and I'm already broke as people were still like with their seat. This is table 64, and I'm like, I'm out of here. People didn't even know I played the tournament. I could have snuck in the line and like acted like I was registering again. I'm like, oh, I didn't get a seat yet. But no, it was like set over set or something ridiculous. But yeah,
that's what I lost to. I first tournament ever. I ended up with a couple of kings. Flop was a king, so I had a set of kings. I lost to a set of aces. But the actual most interesting part of that story was I'm standing in line to register. First ever WSOP event. I have $1,000 literally in my. Like that was it, $1,000, and I was done for the week of playing poker. And I was like, I want to play in this WSOP event so bad. And I'm standing there with a guy who owned Cake Poker. This was way back, and his buddy comes up to him and says, "Hey, I feel like I'm playing really, really great poker. I'm playing the best poker of my life. I want to play in the main event. It starts in 2 days. Can you stake me? Give me $1,000, get 10%. So my buddy who owns Cake Poker says, yeah, sure, I'll stake you. Here's 1,000. So he turns to me. I don't know who this guy is. I've never met this guy in my life. He goes, will you stake me $1,000 for 10%? And I'm like, well, I either stake you the $1,000, who I don't know, or I actually play myself. So I elected to play myself. I made it through 36 seconds of poker. He came 13th and cashed $546,000.
Who was it?
Owen was his first name. I don't know him either. He's from out east in Canada. This was a long time ago, dude. Probably around the time you came second in your main event. And what a run you had. Dave, one of the questions that some of my poker player friends want to know, and we hear this at the poker table all the time, and I know there's no right or wrong answer, but just conceptually, how important is it to protect your big blind, or is it just completely irrelevant?
I mean, I don't think it's important. I think it just depends on the scenario in your hands. Again, like how often is it being raised? What do you have? What's your image? You know, what blinds do you have? How deep are you? I mean, that question is in itself, there's no answer to that question. It's every scenario is unique.
The number one most important thing in poker, look, there's obviously
patience. Be patient. That's
it's so funny.
I tell everybody, you got to be patient.
It's so funny you say that, Dave. I'm knowing how you play poker, I feel like maybe you're a better teacher than a player because you have zero patience.
See, but that's what's beautiful about that. That's the image I've given off.
Dude,
and I'm
sitting in the Brasilia room. I'm in the Brasilia room. You're in the Amazon room. We're both playing the same tournament. The tournament starts. We get like 10,000 chips. I'm texting you half an hour in. How you doing? I'm at 16,000 an hour in. How you doing? I'm at 42,000. I mean, 2 hours in. How you doing? I'm at 160,000.
I play those a little differently because it's all about volume. Like there's so many of them, and you just want to like give yourself the best shot to accumulate fast and get in the next. If you have the bankroll and you're playing like 30 events like myself, so I play those a little different. But when you really want to talk about how I play poker, you have to look at like a 10K main event, like the Bellagio 10K WPTs, and those events. I have this image. Everybody thinks I'm this maniac, and I'm giving a lot away here. I'm hopefully none of the players in those events watch this, but I'm actually kind of like a super nit. And it's kind of funny because people it's almost like I paid for that image for 10 years of being a maniac that now in my old age, I just sit back and wait for the nuts. And people just never seem to believe me. They're like, oh, this guy never has it. I've seen videos of him never having it. And I just have it now. So I think you have to adapt with the times, but you also have to adapt with your image and what people think of you and be aware of that. And I know what people think, so I've kind of had to pull a 180.
Dave, reads. Look, I stink at it. I mean, I'm pretty good at remembering the betting patterns of the people at the table. What I can't do is look somebody dead in the eye and know whether he's bluffing or not. Where are you? I mean, how good are you at that? How do you do it? It baffles me.
Well, I can't give that away, or then people will stop.
Yeah, sure.
The key is you got to give them Oreos, and then they'll usually put one to their ear and kind of listen, and that's when they're bluffing.
Oh, is that okay?
I don't know if you saw Rounders or
hand
not.
them the Oreos. You call them
I learned that
John.
in Rounders. Right before the pot starts, I hand them some Oreos, and they can't help it when they bluff. They do it.
But bottom line, without giving anything away, I mean, are you reading people physically a lot? I mean, is it a huge part of your game?
Yes, it is, but it's not what you think, right? It's not like the guy in the 8 seat, every time he's bluffing, he like rubs his eye like this, or like he like twirls his hair when he has a flush. Like, it's not that. It's more of you're watching hands to build a profile, and your sort of spidey senses are able to pick up when something doesn't add up and something doesn't seem right. But it's more than just like a physical tell, right? The hand itself tells a story, what they did, how they played it, other hands. You're processing all that information in addition to their body language and using that to kind of give you a best educated guess on what you think they're doing. An actual absolute physical tell, like I described earlier, or the cookie and Rounders, that's kind of a myth. I mean, every now and then, like I got a good one for you. I picked up on one that was actually legitimate, and it was almost like a cheat code was turned on. I was playing on Poker After Dark. I think the year was 2009. And Poker After Dark was like 6 people at a table, and it was like a 6-person sit and go for like 10 to 25,000 a person. And I got heads up with a guy by the name of James Aikenhead. He's a British player, really good player, nice guy. And I don't even think he knows to this day because I haven't really told anyone, but I think he was inadvertently doing this. Of course he was. He would never do it on purpose. He would check his cards, and I noticed when he would kind of like flip them up to peel to look at them, he would kind of pop them twice audibly when he had a good hand. Like he would kind of look and like look back, and when he didn't do that, like I was able to figure that out because I started remembering that sound, and then he would show down a good hand. So I tested the waters once, and I called him down when he didn't do it, and the hand was garbage. And then he did it again, and I called him anyways just to see, and it was good. And I was like, wow, it's almost like he's exposing his hand here. Like I know when he has a hand and when he doesn't. This is incredible. And again, I've never told him, and I don't think he purposely was doing it, but it literally, I tested it, and it was happening. So I started to run him over because now I know when he has a hand and when he doesn't, and I was taking advantage of that. And then he had a weak hand based on the sound tell, and I picked up 2 jacks. So I 3-bet him, and he moved all in, and I insta-called. Granted, I had jacks as a strong hand, but I was like fairly certain we could go 4 bets, and he just didn't have it. And he's like, he taps the table, turns over ace deuce. I was right. He had a pretty junky hand. He hits the ace, he doubles up, I'm short, and even though I knew what I knew now, it's difficult to really take big advantage of it when you're short because you still got to get in and double up. And he won the next like all in of mine, and he won the tournament, and I got second. We did a nice little chop, so I made some money. But it was cool to have found that physical tell that was literally like someone's hands were face up. That's the only time in the thousands of hours I've played poker where I've had something that solid to go on. And it still didn't matter. Like I mean, it mattered because I got the money in good, but I didn't even win. But like the tells like that are so far and few between. It's more of just body language, the story they're telling with their hand, how they've played other hands, and all that you can kind of figure it out. I mean, a lot of people, when they're bluffing in a big spot, they give away a lot of things, but that could be the opposite. That could be they're giving that away because they're so strong. So you have to figure out what that means, what they're trying to do with that, and then make your decision based on that. So it's not super easy. It just comes from experience is all I can say. Play a lot, play with a lot of opponents, and pay attention even when you're not in the hand.
How important is position to you? Do you have a different strategy playing out of position? I know that, everybody talks about how Johnny Chan and Rounders, that scene in the WSOP where he, quote unquote, reversed position. But really, I mean, we see that check raise out of position all the time. I mean, he's not like the man.
I mean, it's an easy question. And position is one of the most important things at the poker table. It's very simple. The later position, the later you are to act in the hand, the more information you have. More information is key to making better decisions. Making better decisions is key to winning. So play more hands in position and less out of position. That's all there is to it. That's never changed throughout the whole history. You talk about poker being small ball and not small. Position is king, and that's how it's always been.
Dave, you sit down at a table 90% of the time at the WSOP or somewhere, and you're looking at 8 or 9 amateurs. Probably very rarely are you sitting down at a WSOP table where you're looking across at 3 pros and, half and half type thing. What do you think when you look at these amateurs? Are you excited? Are you going to be able to use your reputation? Or are you worried because you will really struggle to figure out how they're going to play for a while?
Well, I'm definitely never worried, because something I hear a lot of amateurs say, which kind of really bothers me, and people I've kind of coached, like, oh, I'd rather play against pros because amateurs are unpredictable and I don't know what.
Yep.
That's bullshit. Okay. At the end of the day, any craft you participate in, it's better to play against people who are less experienced than the experts. That's the bottom line. You can say all you want, oh, but I know what the pros are going to do and I don't know what the amateurs are going to do. Well, bullshit. The amateurs are going to make mistakes, and don't be too fancy. The key is to not try to figure them out. The key is to let them make mistakes, play solid poker, and let them fall into your traps that the experts frankly wouldn't fall for. So that's why you don't want experts at your table. You want to be with 8 or 9 amateurs, or as many amateurs as possible, because yes, the variance may be high because they may put you in positions and make you do things you don't want to do. You might have to pull the trigger with an ace jack because you know their range is too wide. And yeah, they might have king 10 and beat you. And you're like, well, see, I didn't know. But you made the right choice. So you've just got to, when you play against amateurs, play good poker, make solid decisions, and let them make mistakes. Don't try to force it. Just because they're an amateur, don't try to do anything crazy and sink to their level. Well, play at your level.
Let's reverse that question, Dave, because you're talking to a bunch of amateurs. What do we do when we sit down at the table and you're sitting there, or Raymer's sitting there, or Helmuth, or Negreanu? What is our approach? Just play poker, or... I sat down with the Dragon this past summer, and I knew that he looked at this table as a table that he could run over as a pro, and I actually used that to my advantage. I knocked him out. I think from my perspective, when playing with pros, I'm more inclined to trap. Do you have any advice for amateurs when we sit down with you at the table?
I mean, I would just say the key is to just continue to do what you would do at home. I actually think you shouldn't adjust. And to say you like to try to trap, I think more often than not, because what you're describing is someone trying to run the table over. That doesn't necessarily mean they're a pro or they're an expert. You're going to sit with Eric Seidel, who's one of the best in the world. He's not going to try and run you over.
I played with him for many years, many hours.
David the Dragon Pham, that's his style, whether it's amateurs or pros. He plays pedal to the metal. So I think what you're describing is how to play against that type of player, whether they're an amateur or they're a pro, not how to play against an actual pro, because pros are going to have various different styles. So there's no one style pros play. I think what you want to do is, if you try to trap against pros and just as a general statement, you're going to find yourself allowing them to beat you a lot, bluff you a lot, and get there a lot trying to trap. I think against players that are better than you, you kind of just want to bet your hand, play more straightforward, and put them to the test when you feel that the situation warrants. I don't want to say when you have a good hand, because they might figure that out, but you do want to mix it up a little bit, but you don't want to do anything crazy.
Dave, Colin asks, do you ever try to give off false tells? We spoke about how you're watching everybody else, but we're all watching you. Are you looking to give out false tells, or is that just too mentally consuming at the time?
I just don't think there's a lot of value in it. I think there's more value in just being stoic and consistent. If you are consistent across the board, then it makes it hard to figure out anything, whether it's good, bad, or not. My daughter has called me like 17 times, so I'm wondering if there's an emergency or something.
Dave, if it's...
Well, I'm just going to send a quick message. She keeps calling, so I just want to make sure everything is okay.
100%.
I can send it right here.
I'll just talk about what's coming up this week. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. It's Meet the Experts with the Prez, Dave Williams, with us. I'm so excited to have him. I could talk to him all day. Tomorrow is the legend, Dave Koken. It's going to be a fun show, and then make sure Wednesday to check Straight from the Strip with Minty, Kelly, and Gianni. Thursday show is Betting 101 with Minty and Teddy. And then Friday is the Pony Pundits with Marco and Sig. Dave, let me know when...
okay, I'm back.
Okay.
I told her she needs help with her homework. She's in Texas, and I told her I'll call her back. And she said, can we text and do it? I'm like, no, we can do homework after I'm done with this. It'll still be there. Go play.
I just want everybody to know that Dave is a single father. Obviously, his beautiful daughter Lily has a mother. She's with her mother in Texas, but maybe what, 9, give or take 9, 10 months out of 12, Dave is raising this beautiful girl by himself. And you know, Dave, what you've got so many accomplishments in your life. That's number one, bro.
No, I mean, and don't get me wrong, it's not. I mean, it's not bad in any means. I love it, but you know, it takes a village. You know, I've got help. My mom helps. Her mom is there. Her stepfather's great. You know, we're a big blended family. We all have our hand in raising my daughter. We've, you know, it's great. She lives with me and goes to school here in Vegas, but she's visiting her mother because they were going to have spring break right now, but she went there when the schools closed for the lockdown we're on, the quarantine, to spend time with her mom and her brother. And yeah, I've just been kind of home alone, just playing a little online poker, playing some online video games, watching shows, you know, just enjoying bachelor life that I don't usually get to live.
I have a few more poker questions, again, not strategy, but I do want to show everybody. Last night, Dave played in the WSOP main event online, ended up coming sixth, made... well, I don't want to start telling people how much you made, but...
they can find it online. It says it was like 25 grand.
25 grand, so nonchalant. Guys, I don't know if you can see this. I'm going to hold up this hand to you.
Tell me to go to my Twitter. It's on my Twitter. It's on my Twitter.
It's on Dave's Twitter, DW Poker. Basically, they're all in on the flop. Dave has a pair of eights. The flop was 6, 7, 8, 7 and 8 of hearts. One gentleman had a 4 and a 6 of hearts. The turn was a 5 of hearts to give him the straight flush. And the other gentleman had the 9 and 10 of hearts. And the river was a jack of hearts to give him the higher straight flush. What a hand. You can't be upset losing those kind of hands, huh?
No, I just laughed. I took a screenshot and laughed, and I posted it, and some people were like, "Oh, I feel bad for the guy with the 4-5, the smaller." I'm like, I don't feel bad for anybody. That's poker. That's just what happens. Yeah. You know, we got our money in. I got it in behind. He was behind. The best hand on the flop was the 9-10, and the best hand on the flop won the hand. You know, exactly. Who cares? It's poker.
Dave, Colin asked us a really, really good question. Do you ever, how much weight do you put into where the players come from? What country? You know, Germany or Spain or Australia?
None.
So that you don't find that, you know, particular countries have a particular style of play?
I mean, not at the levels that I think the average player would be at. Like, obviously, if you play the 10K and higher and the high rollers, the German players are known to be very good. But I don't think that's because they're German. That's just because of their circle they play in and who they learn from each other. They play with each other. They help each other get better. And that conglomerate happens to be a bunch of good players, but that doesn't mean a player just from Germany is going to be good or going to be aggressive or going to be, you know, that. So no, I don't really put a lot of stock in it. I think there's donkeys from every country and there's experts from every country. You know, there is what it is. You got to like watch the person play and see how they play. That's just all you can do.
You were what do you call it? Like, you didn't host the WSOP, Norman Antonio, the main event. You commentated on it. I loved. Absolutely.
I do the break desk.
Yeah, loved it.
I'm hoping to do the break desk some more this year. I mean, it's difficult because you have to do it on days you're not playing, and I like to play as much as I can, but then I also really love doing the break desk or even doing some of the commentating on the hands with Lon McCarran. I enjoy that, and it's difficult for the main event, but luckily last year I got knocked out on day one with a top set to a straight to quads. Well, I flopped a straight to a set. The guy made quads. I was out on day one, so I got to go and do commentary. The year before, I took my mom, daughter, and sister on a cruise, and I skipped the main event. But because I was leaving halfway through the main event, I was still there to do some of the commentary. So every year I find a way to make it onto ESPN and help out. I really just like it. It's fun. And, you know, it's not like, I was going to say, like in football, when you get old and you get put out to pasture, you can go do what Tony Romo and these guys do and be a commentator. But with poker, you can play until you're on your deathbed. So it's a little harder to kind of make time for it. Like, it's not like you say at some age, like, oh, at 60, I'm going to retire from poker and just be a commentator. Because if you're good at poker, why would you stop, you know? So.
Yeah, but you don't play a lot anymore. I mean, largely as you've spoken to me because you're raising your daughter, but you're just bored of the game. I mean, you're not even getting much enjoyment out of it.
Nah, I wouldn't say that. I like the high stakes, but the high stakes aren't offered very often, right? Like I play the 5 diamond here at the Bellagio in December. I go to Bahamas, or I did when the Poker Stars had their PCA, and play the 10 and the 25K. I love the Shooting Star event at the Bay 101, and when it's like 7,500 or higher. And then I like the World Series because it's just, even though all the events aren't necessarily big buy-in, they have big buy-ins, but it's still for big stakes. When you're playing a 1,500 or a 2K or a 2,500, you can win a few $100,000. So I like those, and those get my blood going. They just don't offer those in much. Like what's being offered right now, the product that's out there, are like 1,500 circuit events,
But they've even gone further with the Colossus and the big 500. I mean, they've even dropped the pricing down from 1,500. That's now the average.
Well, those are at the World Series, and like I said, I enjoy those because the World Series it's like no other. But like throughout the year, what's being offered, the biggest events in like a circuit stop are a 1,500, or you have some 3,500s, but you have to fly to Montreal, New Jersey to play it. I'm not flying, I'm not paying for an airfare round trip because I want to fly first class because I'm kind of tall and I want to be comfortable and I want to get a hotel and dinner. I'm spending more than the buy-in on the travel. And then if you bust, I want to get home to my daughter. So no, it's not that I'm bored with poker. I just don't like, I wouldn't say I don't like. The current offering is not what I want out of poker. So I stick to big events here in Vegas, and then the World Series of Poker I play from day one to the end.
Dude, I meant to talk poker with you for only 10 minutes, but damn it, man. I got some... I'm going to ask you something. You don't have to tell it. Me, you, and Negrano had dinner, I don't know what, 15 months ago or so? I think February of 19.
Well, it was after the hockey game, right? So it wasn't this season. It was last season.
You guys told a story to me about flying business class to a poker tournament. You don't have to tell it, but man, if you... I don't know. That's like the best story ever.
Well, I mean, I'll give the short version too, but I don't remember. I don't want to get anything wrong, but I do remember when I told you and Daniel at that dinner. I feel like he remembered it, but he didn't realize how impactful and negatively impactful it was. And it's actually, I'm shocked that I consider him a good friend. Yeah. I mean, I love Daniel. I talk to Daniel a lot. Actually, I should check on him during all this. I know he's home with wifey, so he's probably good.
Tell him I want him on. Yeah, right.
I should see. That's going to be hard. He likes his privacy and likes to just not have any responsibilities anymore. But maybe he's with GG Poker. Maybe he'll want to come on and wear a patch or something,
Hey, we got 50,000 subscribers to this channel. But listen, I'd rather have you any day of the week. But tell that story because it's incredible.
So the year was 2005, and we were coming back, I think, from Australia, the Aussie Millions, in January. And we had this long flight from like Sydney to LA, which was like 14 to 17 hours. And then we were going directly from LA to Tunica, which was like another, like with a stop. We were going to get to Mississippi for the WPT. All in all, it was like 24 hours of being in the air or something ridiculous. So we boarded in Australia, and we were both business class. And you got a lot of room. You got like little recliner bed chairs. And me and him were seated together in the center, right? And they have the little armrest where they put the champagne and the mimosas. So we're boarding, we're getting on board, we're putting our bags up and our coats off, and they come by with the tray, champagne, mimosa, and he's like, oh, I'll have a mimosa. And I grab one. We set him on the center, right? Like the armrest. And I think I go to the restroom. Oh, no. He knocked it over. Was it on me? Either way, he ends up knocking. But I know it was on the seat. Yeah, it was on the seat. It wasn't on me yet. I go to the restroom, and I come back, and then his champagne is all in my seat. Because I remember his mimosa, or his orange juice, it was definitely orange juice because it was sticky. Might have been a mimosa. I remember I didn't get one. That's how I knew it was his. The glass is in my seat, and my seat has a big wet mark. And we're about to embark on a 17-hour flight. And I look at it and go, what the fuck is this? And he's like, oh, I spilled, sorry. And he gets like, just kind of give it a little wipe with a towel. And I'm like, dude, my seat is soaked. It's drenched. It's sticky. It smells like orange juice. He's like, sorry. And I'm like, the thing, well, I'll ask you this question.
Yes, right? I would have swapped seats.
You don't even, you volunteer.
Yes.
Like if I'm on a plane and I do this, I tell the person, I'm so sorry. Yes. Let's switch. Because it's not like there's a window or an aisle. It's in the center. It's a pod. So every seat is the same. Like I have an eye on that person. It doesn't even cross his mind. He's just like shrugs and like goes back to sipping his next mimosa and like looking out the window. And I'm just like, so I called the flight attendant and she's just like, well, I can get some towels, but I don't really know what we can do here. And like, she gives me a little rag, but it permeates through the rag. And so the whole flight I'm sitting in it and like my pants are getting wet and I keep trying to like dry it, but it won't dry. And it's like smells like orange juice. I mean, it was just, I was so upset the whole flight. And we land in LA and we're getting our car to go to our next flight to Tunica. And he's kind of like, what's wrong with you? You don't seem so happy. And I'm like, are you fucking serious? My sweatpants are like covered in orange juice from sitting in it the whole flight. And he was just like, oh, well. So, I told you and him that story while we were eating at Nomad. And I think he kind of remembered it. He was like, oh, he didn't even realize. And I think he even said like, wow, I didn't switch with you. And I'm like, no. He was like, I was kind of a dick when I was younger. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, a little bit. I think the Daniel today is a pretty kind person. He's very... I think he would be like, I'm sorry, man. Let's get you a new seat or swap or something.
Yeah. No, he's grown up a lot. Dave, 2 quick questions, and then we're done on poker. One is, it's generally regarded across the world that Canadians are the best poker players on the planet. Would you agree? The answer is just a straight yes. I'm Canadian.
I know that. I know that, yeah, Canadians are pretty good at poker. There's Mike McDonald, Daniel Negreanu. There's a lot of good poker players out there from Canada. Maybe per capita, yeah. Maybe like if you look at percentage.
Per capita, dude. In all seriousness, I think per capita we got to be right up there.
You got to be up there.
Mueller.
Greg Mueller, another sharp Canadian poker player.
Russo. No, what's it? Well, who's the guy that won the World Series? I played with him in Montreal from Quebec, Jonathan Duhamel.
Oh, Duhamel, yeah, really good poker player.
Such a nice guy.
I've never met a mean Canadian. Come on.
Well, I have, dude, but he is an unbelievably nice guy. Okay, dude, let's get into some sports betting super quick, and then we'll end the show with a little bit of cooking stuff. You're part of a sports betting syndicate. You bet a lot of money. Do you want to tell the listeners what ultimately a sports betting syndicate from your perspective is, and how are you playing lines? Are you making straight bets? I
don't even know if that's like I don't even know if I should be. I don't want to get in. I don't want to implicate
Okay, so
myself.
let's just talk about your bets.
I mean, it's all for fun. We don't actually put real dollars on it.
No,
it's all theoretical syndicate. You know what I mean? Like we just like to keep score of how we would be doing if we were betting money. No, I work with a group, a very one of the better groups is all I can kind of give away, if not the best. And what I would say to this is like we have handicappers in all sports. I mean, even things like tennis and golf that we work with or that are our originators of our information. And what I mean by originator is, and we're not following someone else, some other syndicate's info. Right. Because when you follow, which is what I was going to get into, following is basically doom. And a lot of people don't realize that it's a lot harder to follow a syndicate because we're operating on very small edges. I'm talking like the smallest of percent. And where we realize that edge is volume, because we bet a lot of volume, we can realize that small edge. So I might bet a game at a certain price. That price may not be available. Most likely it's not available because by the time we hit it in the morning, we hit it when those lines come out, that line is gone. Yeah. The value we saw in that line is no longer available to the average person. So it's really hard to sort of follow. Now, every now and then things just won't catch up, or another group will be on the other side and it'll fluctuate back and forth, and you can still get what we perceive as value. But in general, it's not as strong when that happens with us.
Yeah, and listeners out there, we actually tried to sell Dave and his syndicate's information a couple of years ago. It was impossible. I mean, you guys would get down on a bet. You'll release whatever X minus 1 minus 3, and
that was the biggest reason why I wanted it to work so badly with WagerTalk, because I love helping people, and I wanted other people to be able to appreciate the info I had and what I was doing and with my group. And granted, I'm not the originator. That's not my role and responsibility, but I wanted to be able to help others also be winners. And we tried to find things where the lines are a little more sticky, because you find a lot of line movement in lesser known events and a lot of totals and things. But like an NFL Sunday, spread, doesn't fluctuate a lot. Like you might see when like injury news comes out, but through betting, it's usually pretty solid. There's exceptions. So we were trying to find the ones where we found a lot of value, but the game itself wouldn't swing heavily and you could still maybe get some of that value, but it was just too difficult to find those that didn't also move. And a lot of the times I didn't want to give a pick out that was not available. Like that's why I just ultimately didn't work. I'm like, I can give this pick, but then by the time people get home from work or get their put the play in, like, well, the line's moved. And a lot of people don't know, and they're still going to try to bet that when that line is moved. If you're given a play with a certain confidence level, you got to get that play. Like you don't want to be like, it's a little extra juice, no big deal. That extra juice is the difference between me winning this season and you losing 100%. That season.
You know, and Dave, you
that
also
extra. Oh, you got it at 105. I'll take it at 110 or 110, not 110, 110. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, well, especially with the dollar volume that you guys are betting. Colin, just thanked you for your thoughts on poker. One of my best friends, Colin, lives down the road. Dave, is there any sport in particular that you would prefer to bet? You like betting more than any other, or are you pretty much an equal opportunist?
I mean, from a pure mathematical financial sense, it's wherever we find the best value in the lines currently. And that actually changes. Like some seasons, our hockey will be unbelievable. Some seasons our golf will be the best. Some are NBA totals. It really changes. And I think that changes based on the models we're using and how sharp they are and what's changing. Sometimes things will change in the league and then our models will have to regroup. If you take out the money and just what I enjoy, nothing to me beats football Sunday, man. Nothing. And it's funny because I've loved sports my whole life, and basketball was my sport growing up because it was the one I also played. So I loved watching basketball. I was a fan of Jordan, a fan of Kobe. I loved LeBron. I loved the league. I loved games. Like, I love basketball. But somewhere within the past, I mean, I know exactly where. When we started, but when I joined the syndicate and really got into football, I've always loved football, but I was a Cowboys fan growing up, and the only football I watched, because I'm from Dallas. I don't know what your excuse is. But the only reason...
I lived in Canada, and they only had either the 49ers or the Cowboys on the damn TV set.
So growing up, I just watched the Cowboys. But when I got into the syndicate, which I would say would be about 8 years ago, I really... And I don't usually sweat our positions because it'll drive you nuts. The stress is just too much when you have 30 positions on a given day. Like baseball, you have a total in every game and you have a side. When you have all these positions, you'll literally drive yourself nuts. And when I first got involved, I was constantly with my phone with alerts. I would have a sheet of paper with all our positions and I'd have alerts on every game. And ding, 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 I'm checking. Then I was, what does that matter? Like, we have handicappers who are confident.
Okay, enough, Dave. You're talking such shit. I sat next to you at a Vegas Golden Knights game last February. You didn't even see the damn score, man. You were on your phone the entire time, and you have people bet into you as well. So you do run a little mini. And you had a guy like 3 rows back to the left who was betting into you. He was losing. You were checking him out the whole game.
Anthony, but hold. We'll get back to that. That's different. I sweat when I have action with my friends, which is what you're talking about. That's different. Okay. I don't sweat our syndicate positions. I don't sweat like an NBA total, first quarter total.
You're right. You were checking the game that he was betting into you, and you were
check
him.
Me and my friends book each other like legally. Like we don't charge dues. We just like we for fun. I sweat that because that's like fantasy football to me. That's more. I don't care about the money. I want to punish my friends who are gambling with me. So I do sweat that. But sweating your sports positions that are pure math-based models will drive you nuts. But I love football because I just enjoy the game. So I do sweat all, and I have like a whiteboard I pull out, and I put my fantasy team first and what players I need in each. Actually, I list every game. Okay, I make a grid. I list every game, and then I write my players I need in each game, my opponent's players I'm anti-sweating in each game, and I'm in 2 leagues. So then I do it for both leagues. Hopefully there's no like where I'm rooting against and for the same player. Then I take my super contest picks, I track those and try to line it up with people in my fantasy so I don't have to root against myself. And then lastly, I take the syndicate picks and kind of throw them on there because I want to like hope I'm not rooting myself into oblivion. Yep. Like, oh, this was a great day. I wanted everything. And then go look at the money and be like, oh, and we lost millions.
You doing parlays at all?
No, we don't do any parlays.
Okay, enough said, everybody listening. Dave, Johnny wrote something. He said you might want to plead the fifth, but he wants you to talk about You were killing it so bad, you actually made a big mistake on an NBA game with a big underdog. Can you share that story?
Oh my God. I feel like we misclicked. Oh, Johnny could tell it better because I was giving Johnny a play, or I was like betting for him or something. I was giving him, and I think we bet huge in an account too. God, I can't remember what it was. Johnny would tell. And Johnny, I think, followed it, and I was like, oh no, that was not supposed to be the play, but it won, and we all won on like a big play that we shouldn't have bet. Oh, I know what it was. We bet like an underdog.
Yeah, I said money line versus the spread. So you bet the underdog on the money line.
We bet the underdog money line, and it was like a plus 340 or something friggin' ridiculous. We bet like an underdog money line, and it was like it wasn't like a plus 150 or whatever. It was like a plus 280. It was something crazy. I think it might have been a plus 300. And we meant to bet the spread, but like something messed up in our software. And I was like, oh, shoot. And then, like, it won. And I went out right. And we were just like, jackpot. Look at that.
According to Johnny, it was 7-1.
We bet it across, like, a lot of accounts.
Yeah. No, Johnny's saying it was at least 7-1 that you got paid.
Oh, yeah. It was higher. It was huge because it actually messed us up. And a lot of our accounts got, like, it flagged us because they were like, what the hell's going on here? Like, we jackpotted everybody. Yes, Johnny, now I remember. It was like 7-1. It was like a plus. Yeah, it was absurd.
Well, way to go, dude. Nicely done. Listen, so you use patience as the word, the most important thing for playing poker. What would be your one most important thing for sports betting?
In a way, it's kind of the same with patience, but I would say it's more of trusting your model or whatever you're using to decide to make your bets, and constantly refining it and looking at it and just working on your process. Get your process in order, constantly be checking it, refining it, and making sure, or if you have someone whose process you're following, make sure they're doing that. Make sure what you're betting, is sound. And don't bet with emotion. Don't bet out of means. The biggest fallacy or the biggest flaw I see people make with sports betting is bankroll management. Don't chase. Don't bet outside your means. Set aside a portion of your bankroll for each unit and stick to that. Like, it's all about volume. And you can't have a lot of volume if you're betting a lot of your bankroll. You're going to get wiped out if things go bad. If you have a lot of volume, if you bet 1,000th of your bankroll and you bet it across a lot of games, you're going to realize your edge and you're going to be able to be in action consistently. So don't, I'm losing, I'm going to bet more. Don't chase, just stay the course.
Dave, we're 57 minutes into the show. I want to keep going. I want to talk to you about MasterChef. I want to talk to you slightly about Magic the Gathering. You just give me, do one of these with the nose, like when you have like 5 minutes you got to go, because I so respect your time, brother. And me and you both rode the Peloton today. I did 30 minutes, did not beat my best score. How was your ride?
I did only 20 because I wanted to make sure I was able to get showered and get something to eat real quick and get down and get to you. Because to be honest, I'd actually forgotten. So when you text me and was like, "Hey," I'm like,
"Dude,
oh shoot!" And then I looked and I was like, "I gotta hop on the bike. I gotta start my day on the bike. Like I have to while we're here. That's like it gets me up and about. If I don't start my day on the bike, I feel like a sloth." So I was like, "Shoot, only a 20-minute ride." I did a 20-minute ride, but I did a high intensity 20-minute ride with a lot of resistance, a lot of cadence, and I felt good. It was a good ride, man. I'm getting better at it.
I was absolutely dripping sweat, and I only did 30 minutes. I usually do the scenic tour while I watch Andrew Cuomo give his daily update. Okay, dude, you're a chef. Did you know this? I mean, look, obviously you went to MasterChef to audition, but I mean, you don't own a restaurant. You're not a restaurateur. I know because me and you have gone out and eaten at restaurants before. I mean, I know you've got a refined palate, but what the hell even got you to audition for MasterChef?
So that story is a story in itself. A year before the audition, the only thing I knew how to cook was eggs. I could scramble some eggs because it's easy. You shake them up and you put them on a pan and just make sure they keep moving till they're good. And that's all I could do. But I find that I really enjoy eating, and I enjoy eating different things. My taste buds are funny. I can go to Joe Robuchon and have one of the finest French 16-course dinners you could imagine. And the next day for lunch, I can go to Taco Bell and enjoy some tacos and burritos from the, Taco Bell. That shows you how wide my range is, right? I like it all.
Sounds like you're poker playing.
Yeah, I appreciate really good food. And I was always intrigued or curious as to how a lot of that food was made, the process. I just always want to know how things work. So I found myself a year before the audition watching a lot of YouTube cooking videos, like in bed. I'd just be bored and be like, I want to see how this works. And coincidentally, I watched a lot of Gordon Ramsey because he's kind of the king of YouTube cooking videos. I watched a lot of Gordon Ramsey videos and his smooth voice and process and how cool he looked cooking. I liked it. Not necessarily the shows where he's yelling at people, but just the one-on-one, like, I'm going to show you how to cook a ribeye. And he's just with the music. So I watched a lot of cooking videos, but I never tried it, right? I would just watch. I had all this knowledge, just absorbing. And then I was married and my daughter, I decided a few nights, I'm going to make dinner tonight. I'm going to try to make some of these things I watched. And I would source the ingredients. I would go to the butcher shop and have them make me get like special cuts of whatever I was going to make, go get like Whole Foods and get the finest. I wanted to make it nice. And I just started cooking things at home. Just like I would watch some YouTube videos, write down some notes, go in the kitchen, cook it up. I started posting a few pictures on my Instagram of like dinner tonight. Tonight's dinner, because I was proud. I wanted to show it off a little bit. And the producer of MasterChef also used to produce this show I was on Spike TV called The King of Vegas. It was like a really lame game show that coincidentally I made it to the finals of that show also. I ended up getting third. I got third because
what have you not come in the top 3 at? Jesus Christ.
I got third all on a roulette wheel. Basically, it was a roulette spin for $1 million. And I usually bet black the whole show. And the guy got to go before me. He bet black. So I had to bet red and the ball landed in black. And I got third and he got to play a 100-year-old man that didn't know how to play poker for $1 million heads up. I would have won that heads up almost certainly. But the roulette did not land on red. Anyways, she was a producer on that show and she had my info. And she had seen some of my posts on Instagram cooking. She reached out to me through another friend who kept in touch and said, hey, she wants your phone number. She wants to ask you about a show. I assumed it was gambling related and said, sure. She says, I've been looking at your social media. I see that you cook. Would you be interested in going on MasterChef? And I'm like, I don't know what that is. She's like, it's a cooking show on Fox, 8 million viewers or something crazy. And, it's Gordon Ramsay. And I was like, Gordon Ramsay, that's cool. She's like, would you audition? We're coming to Vegas. And I was like, I don't know if I'm good enough. The self-doubt, everything. I was like, I don't want to do this. She's like, well, do me a favor. Don't make a decision now. She goes, the audition is this Saturday. And it was Monday. She's like, think about it. Let me know Friday. And if you are going to come, I will tell them to expect you tomorrow. Because I was like, I have my daughter. She's like, I can have them expect you so you can be in and out. Right. You can skip the process, do your interview, show your dish, and get out of there. Because I know you don't have a lot of time. You don't want to wait because it's like American Idol where you see those people with their little number on their chest and they're waiting in a room to be called and they just wait all day. And then she's like, we're going to make sure we can expedite you in and out so you can get back to your daughter. And we want you to audition. And I was like, let me think about it. So I didn't even know what the show was. So I go on the internet and download an episode, and my daughter comes and sits in my lap, and she at the time she was probably 3 or 4. I think she might have been 4 because it was 2015. She was 4. She comes and sits in my lap. She's like, Daddy, what are you doing? And I was like, watching this cooking show. And she's like, oh, this is MasterChef. I watched MasterChef Junior. And they have a kids version. She's like, why are you watching it? And I was like, oh, someone wants me to go on this show or audition, but, I don't really think I'm good enough. I don't think it's for me. And she looks me in the eyes and she's like, of course you're good enough, Dad. You're the best. You're the best cook in the world. I know you would make it. You would probably win. And now I'm just screwed, right? Because you can't tell your child who thinks you're the best in the world and why not? Oh, well, I'm too much of a chicken shit to go on it now. Now she's like, oh, I know you're going to. She's like, Dad, you're going to go on this show and win. What do you do? How do you not audition now and tell your daughter, I didn't even try?
Yeah, no,
right?
I agree.
As much as I didn't want to try, now I have no choice. So I tell her, all right, I guess I'll audition, right? So the audition was on a Saturday morning here at a casino hotel in their convention center. And they're like, you need to bring a dish. You got to bring a dish in the morning, and you got to be here at 8 in the morning or whatever. I'm like, I got to be here at 8 with a dish? What the fuck am I going to make?
Yeah, that's what I was just about to ask you.
And what am I going to wake up at 6 and cook and then like get in the car? I have to have a sitter get here at 7. Like what the hell? And then here's the worst. One of my friends had planned his bachelor party that Friday night, and I was hosting. And by hosting, I mean I was like taking them to the club and getting them in and making sure they were not treated badly, taking them to the Rhino and making sure that they were let in the back door, that they were like given a booth with adequate space. Like I was kind of making sure they were good. And this is my good friends. He had a dinner the night before, and then I was going to take them out to each spot. So I'm like, well, what do? I don't want to bail on the bachelor party, but I can't leave these guys on their own because they might get treated bad. You know, they might not know where to go, but I can't jeopardize this audition tomorrow. I was like, you know, I'm going to do both. I took them out, and then I left the Rhino at 3. I got home. I took a little power nap. I got up. I made a pasta. I did a puttanesca sauce, which is like capers and olives. It's a very rustic Italian sauce that I felt would go good room temp, like pasta, right? You can eat pasta when it's hot. You can eat pasta when it's room temp. As long as the noodles are slimy and noodly, or not slimy, but, you know, like wiggle. They're not hard. You can eat them. So I'm like, I can make the pasta in the morning, make the puttanesca sauce. And I was like, I want a protein. What protein is really good room temperature, cold or hot? Shrimp. You can eat shrimp cold. You can eat shrimp cooked. You can eat shrimp raw. You can eat shrimp room temp. It doesn't matter. So I made a shrimp puttanesca, made it that morning at 6 a.m., plated it, got my best plates and my best knives and forks out, put them in a backpack, loaded everything up, drove down there, and you would be amazed at what I saw. You had people with paper plates. You had people with stuff in foil, just like not prepared. So they put us in a room, 8 of us, and they're like, or it was more than that, it was like 16 and like a square. They're like, please, you have 2 minutes to plate your dish, and we're going to go around and taste. I pull out a white plate, I pull out my dish, I plate it, I spiral the pasta, set the forks on the side, I get a rag, I'm cleaning off the sauce to make it pretty. Next to me, we got a guy with a big foil 10. He's just peeling back, and it's just like enchiladas laid out. No plating at all. Yeah. People with paper, people weren't giving a shit. They come around, it was 3 judges, and they take a fork, they taste your food, and they don't say anything. They write on a clipboard, they're looking at your plating, everything. They get to me, they're like, oh, nice plating. They taste it, you see in their face, they're like, that's not, no. They thank you very much, they write on the clipboard and walk off. Then they called me later that afternoon, like, we need you to come back for the second interview tomorrow. It's in-person one-on-one. I go back for that. Yeah. They take video of that. They're like, we'll be in touch. They call me again on Tuesday, come back for one more interview, and like, okay, thank you, we have enough, we'll be in touch. And then a few months later, they're like, hey, we need you to fill out this packet, send us 6 dishes, pictures, and then we're going to be in touch. And then like, come to LA, but bring stuff in case you're here for 3 months, just in case you make it on the show. And I didn't get back home until after we finished the finale, so.
Well, listen, yeah, you came second, and I'm just going to ask you, and we're going to...
that term is, I wouldn't say second. I was a finalist because there was 3 of us in the finals. Sean won. Me and we were co-second. And my eyes, based on their feedback, I probably was second. But they didn't rank us. Brandy did great. She could be second.
This is the last question for that. What was the dish that you cooked in the finals?
So my appetizer was a beet-cured salmon. Then it was like a really cool preparation where I kind of cure it where it's bright red and salmon, topped with a 6-minute egg that was deep fried with phyllo around it, so it looked like a nest, an egg in a nest on top of the salmon, topped with caviar vinaigrette.
So is it all your decision, or are they helping you behind the scenes?
It was all me.
Gordon Ramsay, dude, I had the pleasure of meeting him at the airport with my children 2 years ago.
He is
nicest guy. I mean, Dave, he was unbelievably nice, and it was really genuine. I've met people who know that they're stars and they have to be nice, and you can feel
this guy is a rock star, but he's also he is the coolest dude, and we became friends. He sees me here. He comes out here a lot and goes out to the club, and I'll see him. He'll say hello. We'll hug, catch up for a bit. He is the coolest dude. And it's funny because people see him on TV yelling and screaming and putting bread on the girl's head as an idiot sandwich. That's all for show, man. I mean, he gets passionate. He cares. And he definitely treats the amateurs, which is what MasterChef is, with kindness. He never yelled at us once, other than if it's a disappointed kind of, not yelling at us, but more like, oh, God, why did you do that? But you can tell it's not because he's upset with us. He wanted the best for us. Now, I've watched Hell's Kitchen. He yells at those guys, but those guys are professionals, and the expectation is higher because they're expected to know better. But MasterChef is amateurs, and he treats us great. But the coolest thing is, in addition to being a nice guy, in addition to being cool, you see a lot of guys like him and you think it's all for show, right? You think, okay, this guy is a TV cook, but is he really a good chef, right? Or is that all for show? Is he more of a personality that knows some techniques? This guy is a fucking wizard. We watched him off camera cooking, and he just is so effortless and so fast and so creative. He knows everything, knows how to cook everything. He's so good. It was like watching Michelangelo paint.
Or as what a lot of people say, Dave Williams playing poker.
No. This was some elite shit. It was like it was literally.
Who's the best poker player in the world, Dave? Cash game.
Antonio.
Really? In cash?
Cash games got it. In my eyes, it's got to be Antonio.
Who's the best tournament player in the world? Put me aside.
Ooh, I was already without you. I mean, I don't keep up with it anymore to know. I gotta say, I mean, to me, it was always Vanessa Selbst. She just shows up. She literally doesn't play, just shows up, plays like 1 or 2 tournaments a year and just wins it, and then like goes back to saving the world and helping other people. I mean, unbelievable poker player. But I mean, tournament, it could also be Darren Elias. This guy's always down there, and I'm not just saying that because he has like 4 or 5 WPT titles. Every time I play with him, I'm just like, oh, this guy's going to crush it again. And he just always seems to get there and win. So those are my 2 picks, two of my favorite players too.
Who's your favorite chef?
My favorite chef? I mean, Gordon, if you talk about people I know, because he's awesome. From like chef to watch or learn from or eat at. I mean, Joe Robuchon, rest in peace. His restaurants are my favorite. They let me cook there. They taught me a lot. You know, he's the godfather of fine dining. It's got to be, Joe Robuchon.
Listen, I was going to talk to you about Magic the Gathering, but we're going to call it a show. I mean, I know nothing about it. I'm guessing it's some kind of Dungeons and Dragons with cards. You want to just give me a quick 1-minuter? Or
yeah,
do that's do it? Oh, you do still do it every now and then.
I play a little bit of Magic still. I would say the Dungeons and Dragons analogy is more of a misnomer, and I think that's because they both have a fantasy element to the game. Whereas if you see behind me on the wall right here, that side, that is like an original edition sheet of cards, right? The cards themselves have fantasy elements on it. Like they have dragons and elves and knights, right? Dungeons and Dragons has that same fantasy theme, but that's pretty much the only interaction are the only cross of the games. Dungeons and Dragons, which is a game I don't play, I don't have anything against it, is more of like kind of a role-playing fantasy, almost, I wouldn't say pretend or make-believe, but it's more like role-playing, like you're talking about something and things can change. It's more like human interaction, whereas Magic the Gathering, the game, even though the cards have a fantasy element on it, that's just for flavor. That actually doesn't matter. I would say Magic the Gathering is closer to a game like chess, right? Like in chess, why are the pieces a knight and it looks like a horse, or a king with a crown and a queen and a bishop, right? They don't have to be that, correct? That's to help us remember. You could have blocks and have it labeled piece A, piece B, piece C, and A is a king, or A moves one direction. C can move up 2 spaces to the right 1 space. You could have a chess piece just have a letter, and that letter has rules on how it moves. We make them look like fantasy elements in chess because it gives it a little flavor. It makes it easy to remember, talk about. It's better to talk about a knight because you know how a knight moves than PC. What's PC again? Oh, PC moves any direction into. So Magic is the same thing. The cards have a dragon on it, but it could have no picture. It could have the name instead of Shivan Dragon. It could be called Random Creature 3. The text tells you what it does, which is similar to if a chess piece told you how it moved. This card is worth this many points and interacts this way with other cards. So Magic is a strategy game where the cards have the rules on them, what they do and how they interact, and you try to position yourself in a better strategical position than your opponent to defeat them in like a game of
Dave, chess, everybody starts with the same pieces. I'm guessing, chess is 100% strategy.
And Magic involves luck in it, which is why I enjoy it better, because the pieces are different. So imagine if instead of chess, you show up, I think there's 8 unique pieces in chess. Like there's 8 different types, like king, queen, bishop, knight. Yeah. Imagine if instead of 8 pieces, there was 50,000 pieces. And the board, instead of being 8 by 8, I think it's 8 by 8, it was 100 by 100. And you got to show up with any 40 out of 100,000 that you wanted, and they all work together in different ways. And I got to go pick my 40 out of the pool. Granted, that's like a mind fuck to think about, but Magic is spaced out enough where it makes it simpler. I go pick my 40 pieces that all do different things. You go pick your 40 pieces. Some could be the same as mine, some could be different. We put them on this massive board, and they interact in different ways, and there's a little luck. Instead of just it all being skill, there's also you shuffle the pieces up, and you pull one out of a bag and pick where it goes. That's kind of what chess is. So it's got chess elements, but it's expanded, and then they add luck to it, which luck is kind of great, right? Because one of the reasons I don't like chess is because I know that if I play someone better than me, I'm going to lose. And if I play like my daughter, I'm going to win. Right. There's not a lot of variance. Like the better player will win almost every time unless your skill level's like here. Whereas with Magic, I could teach you the game of Magic, and then tonight we could play. I'm probably going to only beat you like 75% of the time. And as you get better, that's going to lower until we're up like 65%. It's like the best win percentage of the best players in the world is like 65%.
Dave.
Which is great. Why we love poker, right? Anyone can win.
Yeah, listen, brother, we're going to call it a show. I just want to summarize the show the best way possible. Both Joe Montana and Tom Brady just tweeted. They tweeted the following. Are you kidding me? This guy got into every Ivy League school on the planet. He's a world-class poker player, a world-class Magic player, a world-class chef. He has unbelievable hair. Women freaking dig him like you cannot believe. I have been in a bar with this guy, people. The women get wet looking at this guy. Both Joe and Tom want to be you.
Well, I'll just say that's only because of age, right?
Well, you're younger than both.
They just want to be younger, and I want to be.
Dave, you are the most dynamic dude I know. You have the best freaking life. It is unbelievable, man. I mean, come on. Look in the mirror, brother. You're lucky to be you. I'm lucky to have you as a friend, and I'm thrilled that you gave us your time today.
Oh, I'm happy to. Hey, listen. We all got a lot of it right now. I'm happy I got to spend a little bit of it with you. It's going to make my day going forward a lot easier to get through. I'm going to think about this cool moment and keep pushing because I got some projects I want to work on. And it's easy to get caught up in your own head and tell yourself it's not going to work or it's too hard or it's going to fail. But you got to keep pushing because nothing good comes out of being stagnant. You got to just try your hardest. And if you fail, you fail. So I am going to use this as some inspiration to get started on some of the things I've been wanting to do. And now I have time and I'm pumped up. Let's go.
Okay, my brother. Thank you so much, Dave. And I'll speak to you later by phone. I really appreciate this, man. It was a privilege doing the show with you.
Thank you. A privilege to be here. Thank you for having me.